injury that all of us deal with. Quickly, if we can just understand why it's such an important joint, that it is, forget the biconcave and convex saddle and all that, it matters very little, those shapes and sizes, but it has a big range of movement, and it forms the base of the thumb, which has to rotate all around for you to get normal function. There are very little bony constraints, which means it's not like the hip. So it's got to have a lot of ligaments and muscles controlling it. And there are large cantilever forces acting on this. And these cantilever forces shift out these fractures. And you can see the adductor holding the MP joint, while the abductor pollicis longus pulls down the metacarpal shaft. So that is what keeps it from staying together and pulls them apart. So they are in opposing directions, and therefore you get this problem. So there are many ligaments required. There are 16 different names of ligaments over there, and if you start looking at them, again the same problem as the wrist, that it's very difficult to identify these in their individual forms, and therefore you just consider the entire thing as one strong ligamentous control on the joint itself. The anterior oblique ligament, or the deep anterior oblique ligament, is one of those which normally gets involved, causing a lot of subluxation and problems. Also, the radial artery comes very close to this joint as it courses from the volar side towards the dorsum and into the first web space. So these are the things that keep you from, and I forgot to tell you about the branches of the superficial branch of the radial nerve, which are the most irritating things that can come in your way in that area. So all of this comes into play when you have a fracture. Now the fractures can be of three types. One is very close to the joint but not involving it, and it's more like a transverse fracture. It's like a shaft fracture happening very low. Or it can be a fracture which is an oblique fracture coming much closer, or it can involve the joint itself. So each one of these could behave just like what we've mentioned. So here's one which is a highly unstable fracture. Now here we've seen the destabilizing factors which are there, and therefore whenever you put it back in, it is going to jump out. Trying to treat this without fixation becomes a little difficult. So you can pass in wires from the antegrade side. Now when you're passing these wires, they look very crooked and funny. So what you need to do is just drill a hole in, and then keep that wire in and cut it, and use the blunt end of the wire. I generally tend to grind that on a bone file, and once it's smoothened out, or if you're using an AO wire, one side is always smoothened and rounded, it's only one-sided tip, so the other side can be just flipped over, and you just bend it like you would a guide pin of your femoral shaft or whatever you have. So intramedullary nailing type, so you have a little bend over there, and then you pull out this wire, put the blunt end of the wire through the same hole, and it will slowly follow the path of the metacarpal, and it will give you a fairly easy fixation to do. One wire is not enough when you're dealing with such a proximal fracture. You need two. If it was somewhere in the middle of the shaft, you can do away with one wire alone. And passing it from the distal end allows you to start early movement of the CMC joint as well as the MP joint. If you pass it from antegrade, it becomes very, very difficult and painful, and often I've done it, but I'm not really happy with that. The angles are very difficult to get. This is the common type of fracture that you see, and you always think acceptable, not too much of separation. They sometimes get a step which is extremely painful afterwards. So you need to try and fix this. If you open up, we've seen about the forces. If you open up textbooks, there are 25 different techniques of treatment listed in Green's textbook. And it starts from cast and skin, traction and wires and all sorts of things, and 6 or 7 different configurations of wires, etc. So what you need to do is to decide whether close reduction is good enough. Well, in minimally displaced fractures, it can be reduced, and when you reduce it, you need to put pressure to push back the flexion of the metacarpal. So you got to extend the metacarpal, and then and only then you're going to get it. So if it is difficult to control, then think in terms of putting in a pin. So here's one where the pin has been placed, and it looks absolutely perfect. Otherwise it wouldn't have been in this presentation, obviously. Not all of them go so well. It's very difficult to understand where that fragment is lying. You try 2 or 3 times using thin pins, it's not a problem. Don't use thick pins or that small fragment is going to get destroyed. Once you put in your pin, get good views to assure you, because very often my pins are outside, and I've done that in n number of cases and I continue to do it. I'm still not an expert at this. I still am a little lost when I'm treating these fractures. And this is at the time of pin removal. He's already got full range of movements. When you have a comminution, then it becomes a little more difficult. So we're going from the easy ones to a little more difficult one. And there you need multiple pins. And multiple pins. Now here you see an anti-grade K wire has been passed and 2 pins have been taken. Now what is the purpose of all of this? Is to get that joint back in place. And if you see and pay attention to the joint, you realize that it's always in good position. So once you've got the joint in position, obviously the results are going to be good. So you need to keep this on for 6 weeks. Yeah. So how do you image this? You've got this in your operating theater and you don't know abhi dekhenge kaise. Now when you take an AP view, then this is what you're going to see. Really not so good. When you take a lateral view, this is what you're going to see. And again, not really very good. So what do you do to get a good view? So what you need to do is to pronate completely. So you pronate your forearm completely and keep it flat on the this thing, and you'll find the joint looking at you perfectly well. Now the same thing should obviously be there when you supinate. And when you supinate, you get to see the STT joint much better. Now see the difference between these two. If you look at that, you can see the base of the thumb full clear, but if you're looking for fractures a little more on the ulnar side or the alignment of the trapezium and the trapezoid and the scaphoid. So if you're looking at the STT joint, that the scaphoid and the trapezium trapezoid, then you need the supinated view. Yeah. So if you're looking for more of the of something when you're done a partial wrist fusion and things like that, then you need the supinated view. But otherwise, a pronated view will give you a very good imaging of this area. Then how do you pin it? You can just pin the first metacarpal to the second metacarpal, holding the reduction. Hold the reduction, get yourself to hold the reduction or get someone to hold the reduction, check it a couple of times and then pass these 2 pins. That's going to be good enough. If you can pin the fragment like I showed you, then that's good enough. There's a technique where you go across the CMC joint and pin it down. I would avoid going across the CMC joint if I can. So all of them work as long as the congruity is maintained. And at times I've depended on an external fixator frame. This was the time when I fixed everything that came with a fixator. Now when you put a fixator, Hemant Patankar puts pins into the trapezium and into the scaphoid, and I would avoid doing that. I would skip it and go to the radius. But if you tell a patient you got a fracture here and I want to put 2 pins here, he's not going to let you do that. So this somehow in the old days we managed to do that because we had an OPD full of fixator patients and they thought that's the only way these fractures could be treated. But you can get an excellent reduction with a fixator, excellent reduction. But if you noticed, you've got to span the first web to hold the reduction. So the second metacarpal is being involved, the radius is being involved, this first metacarpal it's too extensive and rarely to be used. In a compound injury, yes, but you get excellent results. Often it can be a little more complex than that. When you see something like this, you know it doesn't fit into what you've just seen. There are 3 main types and this doesn't fit into that. You need to pay a little more attention. A CT scan is required. And it will tell you then that the trapezium itself is fractured into multiple pieces, and unless you get that congruity between the two, you're not going to be able to fix it. So get movements. So for that you need to open. When you need to open, you need to understand that the branches of the superficial radial nerve are so thin and just under the skin. So as soon as you cut the skin, you need to look for it, and once you look for it, you can see the 2 branches going on both sides of the extensor pollicis brevis and one of them going across the abductor pollicis longus. So there will be 2 or 3 branches, and once you see them, protect them, and then you can proceed. The closer you get to the joint, remember the radial artery is there. So before you start, palpate the radial artery. So you know you want to stay away from there, because once you've nicked it, it bleeds like crazy. And then you need to put in pins to fix the fragment, get the trapezium back into place. I've used 2 screws here. This patient is from Guwahati. I don't have his result. but I'm told he's doing fairly well. Some of them are not reconstructable, like in this one, where you just can't reconstruct it. We won't go into that. So you just avoid the CMC joint. Here we've shortened everything, we put it together, and the reason I've brought this is to show you the limitation of what we did and how important it was. We did an osteotomy of the distal radius, got everything back into place, etc., etc. But this is the limitation of the thumb function, which looks fairly good on pictures, but you can see the shape and you can see the movements completely affected. So it only functions like a post. So that joint is extremely important. And finally, in children, you must understand that not all of them need to be fixed. This boy came to me 2 or 3 weeks after the injury. I was tempted to put it back in place. He had to go away for something to his school. He was in a boarding school. So we waited, and you can see remodeling. You can see remodeling, and you can see complete remodeling. Absolutely wonderful. So in children, may not be necessary to fix them all. Yeah. And if it malunites, you get a zigzag deformity. So you get a distal deformity which has to be corrected by some correction, as we saw in the carpal bones. Similar thing happens, and you get a zigzag deformity. You need to do an osteotomy. You can correct them and you can fix them. I did a dome osteotomy there, and you can correct it well. And in a chronic injury, sometimes you can have a fragment like this, which is more to do with the tendon, with the attachment, rather than anything else. So this may not be able to be fixed back. This fellow is a boxer. So I took off that fragment and I put back with a anchor. And this fellow at the Olympics, he lost, but that's the hand that he's using. Absolutely fantastic. So ligaments can also, or the tendon itself can also play a big part in these fractures, and you need to be careful. You may not be able to fix that fragment back. It doesn't really need to be there. The tendon needs to be put back in so that the strength of the thumb doesn't get depleted. So in summary, if you see them properly, by imaging them in either the full pronated or the full supinated view, you can make out what you're looking at. Then you must also immobilize it in such a way that it is congruent and stable. And you must correct the malunions, because they can be pretty painful. And if there's a step, you need to do an intra-articular osteotomy and correct it, which is a little more difficult. Thank you very much.